What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are all doing well. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at a 2019 Ford Fusion. Customer's complaint is check engine lights on and that the vehicle is overheating. So first step we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to hook up the scan tool. After that, after we pull all the codes, we're going to go under the hood and do a visual inspection of the cooling system. So let's go ahead and get started. And guys, about 70% of you guys that are coming to this channel watching the videos are unsubscribed. If you guys can do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, it really does help. And if by the end of the video you find the information useful and or helpful, go ahead and like the video. So with all that being said, let's get back into the video. Alright guys, so we went ahead and did the key on engine running test. And these are the codes that we're pulling so far. We got a cylinder 3 misfire. Misfire detected on startup. And we have Evap high purge flow, or, well, there's a active one, there's a pending one. So the purge valve hanging open can cause a misfire. So I can maybe bundle those two together. We'll definitely take a look at the Purge Solenoid, see if it's staying open, especially since the code is active right now on the key off engine running test. Now, one thing I did notice that I want to show, I was just looking at the live data as it was warming up, and one thing that kind of caught my eye, which could be related to the overheating, let's see if I can find it. It's something to do with the water pump. Where is it? Okay, coolant pump A. So we have a short to ground or an open. It does say the coolant pump command is on. So what we can go ahead and do is look for the electric pump and also check that pump as well. So even though it's commanded on, we can go ahead and physically grab it, or put a hearing device on it and see if it's actually working. I didn't see anything else. The car is not overheating right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under the hood. We're going to take a look at it real quick. Check the Purge Solenoid, and also we're going to check the coolant pump, where the location of the coolant pump A is at, and then take a peek at that, see if it's something we can manually turn on and off ourselves. And then we'll go from there. I'm not sure if you can actually catch that. As you can see, the reservoir is almost down to the bottom. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to fill the reservoir up, and then we're going to move on to the Evap Perch Solenoid. Alright, so I have the coolant reservoir filled up. That way when I'm checking the overheating again, after we check the pump, I know it's going to be fine as far as the coolant level goes. Alright, so for the Evap Perch Solenoid, it is back over here underneath the air induction tube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off the box right here, the air filter. Give me a little bit more room inside there. Move it off to the side. And I could also pull this off as well if I needed to, but I think it's okay. Should be fine. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get my camera. I'm going to show you guys where it's at. Get my flashlight if I have it on me, which I don't. It's fine. Alright, so the Purge Solenoid is right here. See that green connector right here? That's the one that we're going to go ahead and pull off. And it's also this electrical connector right here. And once we pull this clip up, I can kind of flex this towards me, and then we're going to blow in one end and see if the airflow is free. If it does, then obviously this purge valve is stuck open. So let me go ahead and get that off real quick. Let's get the connector off. Okay, and now we want to get the green connector off. These can be a little bit difficult to get off sometimes. It's the same as this one right here. So basically they just they're locked in place. You move them back a little bit, and then you want to get under it with a pick. If you can. They are kind of a pain to get underneath. And then we're going to go ahead and this off. Once you have that up, it just slides right out. And then here is our Purge Solenoid right here. Clean this off a little bit, and let's see if it's flowing free. Okay, I doubt you can hear that, but it is a free flow through the Purge Solenoid, so definitely we're going to have to replace this Evap Perch Solenoid first. before we dig into the misfire itself. I'm just going to stick that back in there because I do have to run the car again, and since it is open, it's going to cause a vacuum leak. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to plug this back in just temporarily. Plug the electrical connector back in, just sit it right there. Let's get the air box back on. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go look up on the computer, see where the coolant pump A is located on this car. And then once I know where it's at, if it's a 2-pin connector, we can obviously activate it. Or we can probably activate it with this cancel and see if it comes on. If not, then we'll disconnect it and we'll test and see if there's any continuity between the pump itself. If there isn't, then obviously we have a shorted or open pump. And we're going to have to replace that before we dig further into the overheating as well. So far we've condemned the Evap Perch Solenoid. That's faulty. That's part of why the reason the check engine light's on. That's probably why you're getting a misfire code too. So let's go ahead and tighten this up. And then what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to turn the camera, I'm going to switch it over, and then we're going to go find out where that pump is. Alright guys, so I couldn't find the auxiliary coolant pump. There isn't one on this car. So I'm looking at the entire cooling system on the car and it doesn't have it. Where it should have it, it's just a 90-degree elbow that goes directly to what they call the water outlet adapter. So this car doesn't have an auxiliary pump. I was looking for something that isn't there. I'm not going to worry about it. What I went ahead and did is the coolant is already topped off. So I have the scan tool with me. I'm going to go monitor the temps as I go road test it. And I'm going to try and confirm and see if it actually is running hot. So once it does get a little bit past half, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to monitor the cooling fans, see if the fans come on. I'm going to see if the grill shutters are open, and I'm going to see if the thermostat is opening. Those are the two basic things I'm going to check. Coolant level was low, but this car is an Uber, and it is from a rental car company. So I can 100% guarantee as many miles as this car has, 83,000, the coolant level was probably never checked by the Uber driver. So yeah, with that being said, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and road test it. I'm not going to do it on camera, and then I'll come back and inspect it if it starts to run hot. Alright guys, so I'm back from the road test. I think I drove for about 25-30 minutes. A little bit of residential and then main streets. Did some wide open throttles just to kind of get it up nice and hot. The two temperatures that I was reading were the cylinder head temp and the engine coolant. Cylinder head temp, the highest that I got was 209. Minimum that I went to was like a 206 thing. So hovering between 206 and 209. That's fine. The engine coolant temperature sensor, the minimum was 180 and the high being 190. So it hovered around 180, 190, which is fine also. So that lets me know that A, the thermostat is opening, because once it got to about 180, it kind of stabilized right there. Cooling fans, I was watching the PID for that one. I did see the relay come on and off, and obviously at a stoplight, it will go up a little bit, relay will come on low speed, and then it will drop down a little bit. So I can say at least the fans are working. The other PID that I looked at is the grill shutter, and when they're commanded open, they are open. So I don't believe those work that often. So in this case, they were open and 100% the whole time, so there was no fault there. Last step I can go ahead and do is run a cylinder head block test, see if maybe it's a small leak inside the combustion chamber. But the problem with that one is small leaks don't really come up on the block test. I've had them where it does pass, and I've actually seen some fail. So it depends on how big the leak is. I think what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to probably do that next, just to confirm that there's no combustion gases getting into the cooling system. But again, coolant being low could have just been lack of maintenance. It probably hasn't been touched in the 83,000 miles that this car has been running. And these guys get these cars brand new off the lot, and they either use as rental cars or they're given to Uber at a certain miles. And having worked in car rental, they don't really top off fluids too much. So it could have been because there's low fluid because of lack of maintenance. But I am good. Like I said, I'm going to go and do a block test really quick, and then we'll see what that shows. And if it's fine, then at least we know we're going to be doing the Evap Perch Solenoid, just to get rid of the high purge flow and possibly the misfire code. Alright guys, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off spark plug number 3, take a peek at it just to see if it's contaminated with coolant, take a peek inside on top of the piston crown, see if it might be wet. That's the next step I can go ahead and do besides doing a block test. So I think I'm going to go ahead and do that next. So what we want to go ahead and do is, oh, that wasn't even plugged in. We're going to take off this one more time. And this go around, we're going to take it off complete, just to get it out of the way. And we're also going to pull off from here and also right here as well. So let's get my flathead. We're going to grab this band clamp and back that off a little bit. We also have a hose right here. I have to take this clip off. Okay, get that off. There's a, it looks to be 12 millimeter? 13 millimeter right there. We're going to take that out. And then, what we can go ahead and do is get that off. Get that out of the way. Pull this out. Let's get this small, tiny hose off. Right off. Let's take that off there, and then let's just push it out. And then this one, I believe, just pushes. I might be wrong on this one. Ford likes to use freaking weird connectors on their stuff. So we'll pull off from here, and I'm just gonna wiggle it out of the way. I don't feel like breaking that one at all, so just go ahead and move it out of my way. All we need to do is need to get to this the coil, so I don't need to get too crazy with taking this thing apart. Alright, so I got that out of the way. Here is cylinder 3 coil, and it's held on by a single 8 millimeter. Way. I don't see no arcing. I don't see no reason for the misfire on the coil. Let's get down there and let's get that spark plug off. Let me get my spark plug sockets really quick. Okay. I believe it's going to be a smaller one. Let's see. Nope. Go. And I will link these spark plug sockets in the description if you guys are interested. It's actually a really good set. Alright, so let's get the spark plug out. I also want to plug chop it really quick while it's still warm to see if there's any condensation in there as well. You generally don't want to pull off the spark plug while it's hot, but in this case, I kind of want to see it in there while it's still hot. The spark plug doesn't look bad. As far as condensation goes, let's take a peek in there and see if I can actually see it in there or not. So it looks kind of dry. I don't see anything there. Alright, so that seems to be okay. They probably could have used a little bit of anti-seize on there, but it is what it is with that. So let's go ahead and throw that back in. I'm going to put a little bit of anti-seize on there just so the next person that has to take it apart is they're going to fight to get it off. Alright, go nice and smooth in by hand. That's the work of the anti-seize right there. coil back, and then what we'll do is we'll bleed off the pressure in the cooling system. We'll put the block tester on it and we'll take a peek at that, see how that works. If it passes, then what I'll do for the time being is just focus on the check engine light as far as the purge flow and the misfire, and we'll just do that for now. Let them know that, hey, you know, it might be seeping through the head. I can't see anything wrong with it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. It just means it's not something I can physically see right now, especially if it passes a block test. It just could be really, really small, and a block tester is not sensitive enough to pick it up. I have had that, so it is a big possibility. Let's get the air box back on, get this thing runnable again. Okay, one. Oh, you want to go in, huh? Two. Let's get the connector for the IAT. Put that in place. Okay. Let's get all this out of the way. Let's start bleeding this off. Back, and obviously it should be common knowledge that you do not want to open up the reservoir or the radiator when the car is hot. Do not, I repeat, do not do that. I am doing it, but I'm going to do it extremely slow, and I'm going to do it with a rag in place so that it shoots off in my face. Wiggle it, that way some air can pass through it if there is any built up pressure in there. Now this cap coming off the first time kind of felt a little bit weird. Could also be a bad cap as well. There we go. Let's bleed that off. Like I said, you don't want to do this at home, especially if you're not used to doing it. You just go ahead and open it, you're gonna have a bunch of hot coolant in your face that's sitting around 180 degrees to 200 degrees. So yeah, don't do that. Obviously I'm keeping my face away from it for a good reason. Cap is off. Wasn't too bad. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and grab the block tester, get that thing set up, and then we'll go and block test it. Alright guys, so I got the block tester. Now the thing with this one is I don't have a bulb for it, so it's driven off of engine vacuum. Now this one being a turbo and a positive crankcase, we have a vacuum pump right here. It doesn't run off of the engine vacuum. So what I'm going to go ahead and try to do is, this line is coming off the vacuum pump. I don't know what it goes to. Hopefully it's a secondary system and I can drive it, or I can at least let it run without it. And I'm going to attempt to undo it, put this, actually that might not fit, it might be too small. Okay, where are we going to? Alright, hold on, let me figure this out. Alright, so unfortunately that's the only line that I have to use, so we're going to try to make this work. Come on. Alright, that might be in. Okay, I believe it's going to be fine. Alright, let me go ahead and start it up and see what we got. Yeah, that got vacuum for sure. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and let that run for a little bit. I really do hope that that has a check valve that is not sucking in my blue stuff. Let's verify that real quick. Seems dry. Okay. And the funny thing is I can hear the purge valve cycling right here, even though it's essentially stuck open. I think it did suck up some of my coolant. Or not coolant, but my test fluid. Let me fill it back up, and I'll just kind of touch it so it's not pulling so much vacuum. Yep, that's too much. Huh. That's funny. It pulled it right up. Let's go ahead and there we go. Get it on camera so you guys can see what I'm doing. Alright, let me get this thing taken apart. Alright guys, so the overheating is unconfirmed. It rode good, it drove fine, had no misfires while I was driving, the temperature stayed well within specs. So I'm just going to go ahead and recommend the Evap Perch Solenoid. Hopefully that takes care of your check engine light. And once that's done, I'll go ahead and drive it again. But I don't see any other problems coming up. So yeah, if you're having an overheating problem, those are the steps you want to look at. You want to first confirm that the fan's working. You didn't watch me do it, but as it was doing the block test right now, the fans were spinning. So those were fine. Not to mention I can actually see them on the scansel. If you don't have the option to see them on the scansel, then you're going to want to have the car run warm, or at least warm up, and then see if the fans work. Sometimes, if a fan is seized and the AC is built into that one, you can also turn on the AC and see if the fans come on. If the fans still don't come on, then obviously you can have a faulty fan assembly, if it's one or two. If the AC fan is separate, then that's kind of irrelevant. So that's the way you can check that. Thermostat, obviously you want to grab both hoses, see if they're about the same temperature. One is going to be warmer than the other, but they should be close to being around the same. And then as far as block testing it, obviously you need a block testing kit, which you can rent from the auto parts store and check your block. If that passes and everything else passes, then only other thing can happen was and it's not often, this usually happens on electric water pumps, but the electric water pump can be spinning, but the impeller can break off and not be spinning, so you're not cycling the water pump. It happens a lot on Priuses. So with that being said, I'm going to put my paperwork in for the Purge Solenoid, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so let's go get this Purge Solenoid out. There it is right there. I'll put an arrow in the video. And then we're going to come down, it comes around. You have one line that comes up right there. Just push that white pin and it pulls right out. And you also have one, let's see if I can zoom in on it. Right there, you push on that white tab, same as the other one, and you pull it right out. So let's go ahead and get that part out. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this old one out. Get the electrical connector off. Okay, and just like earlier, we're going to get that green out of my way a little bit. Actually, we'll leave it in for now. We'll look around it. Okay, that should pop right off. Nope, not have it all the way out yet. Not yet. Almost. fight me this time, huh? Alright, let's go back in and do it again. There's these little pins you gotta push one way to get them to slide through. If you don't do them both, then they get stuck. There we go. I probably didn't have one. Okay, got that off. We're gonna get this one off. As we have that one off, we're gonna go to the back one right here and get my light and see. We're gonna use these to get it off. Okay. Just be able to grab in there. Nope, can't get those in there either. It's gotta be in my hands. So I can get the bottom one. I can't, you know what? Let's do this. Let's get my screwdriver. Let's push on the bottom one from here and the top one from here. I hope that works. And it doesn't. Well, I pushed it in. Pushed it in too far. Alright, bear with me, guys. Got it. Okay, so got that out. Let's go ahead and cut these zip ties off. Slides right out. So there is the Purge Solenoid right there. So we'll wait till we get the new one in and we'll install it. Alright guys, so we got the new purge valve right here. And when you buy this valve from a dealer, it's actually going to come with this hose right here as well. The thing about this one is it's kind of tucked underneath the intake a little bit by the throttle body. I don't want to go to the hassle of removing this. I don't want to have to go through the hassle of taking all this stuff off. So I just go ahead and ignore it. That's why I cut those zip ties off. That's your choice. If you want to go ahead and change it as is, then you'll get a new line for this one as well. But for me, I didn't want to go ahead and go through all that. So let's go ahead and get this thing installed. And then we'll clear the fault codes. We'll go drive it again. And then I'll just make sure the temperature stays okay the entire time. There's a little clamp in here. Alright, so we got that one in. Let's get the green connector in. Coming from the Evap in the back canister. That one's in. Let's get the electrical plug in. Which I know you guys can't see what I'm doing, but let's get that in. Let's get this one in right here. That's that one. Now we got that one down here. Let's go ahead and then line that up right. Push that in so it connects. There you go. And then I'm gonna do it off camera, but I'm gonna get zip ties, and I am going to zip tie these together, just like they were when they first came in the car, and also like how the new one is. So I can just clamp these together with some zip ties, one here, and that's it. So yeah, let's go in the car and let's go ahead and clear the codes. Alright guys, so the road test showed that the car drove great. No check engine light came back on. I monitored the temps throughout the drive and they were fine. Now one thing I want to add, we have two of these same cars here. We have a blue one and we have this one right here, which is a silver one. They're both 2019 Ford Fusions, same engine, same problem. The other one did have codes for the cylinder head overtemp problem or overheating problem, whatever he said. I didn't look at his paperwork, but he did say there was a code for overheating. Now, one thing about his is he also passed a block test, but when he pressure tested it, he found that it would lose pressure over time. He peeked into the cylinder and sure enough, there was coolant in there. On top of that, when he pulled all the spark plugs out, 3 of the cylinders had normal carbon deposits on top of the piston crowns, and his one that was leaking was really clean. Now, he asked me when I pulled the spark plug out, was the cylinder clean? And I told him, I said, you know what, it's not clean. It had the same carbon deposits as you would normally see on a car with this amount of mileage. So yes, if you pull out a spark plug that has a misfire and you are having an overheating condition, if that piston crown is like really clean, then that is a good indication that you are getting coolant into that cylinder, because it will clean out the top of the piston crown. Now, this one could have it, it's just not as bad as his was. It's possible that this is the beginning of a leak into the cylinder head. It could be that it's a different cylinder that I had a misfire on. It could be that same cylinder. Thing is, it's a really small leak. The last time this car was in service, I talked with the guy that manages our car rental once. And this is from a specific company. I'm not going to name drop the company. But he manages all their vehicles, and I actually used to work for a car rental company as well. A lot of things like fluids, as far as coolant, brake fluid, they kind of get overlooked a lot of times, and they don't get topped off. If it comes out low, let's say this car was from the factory and drove a couple thousand miles, air was in the system and it purged the system, guarantee you that's not going to get topped off. Unfortunately, these cars don't go back to the dealer. They're bought from the dealer, and the car rental company owns these cars. Same with mine and ours as well. So sometimes the guy will top stuff off, but a lot of times it doesn't get topped off. They do the oil change and they ship it. A lot of times on these guys is they're in a hurry to hurry up and rent them, and it's just enough time to get the oil change done, remove it from its hold, and get it back on rent. You know, the main goal is to make as much money as you can on these cars before they get rid of them. So as far as if your car has the same codes that I have for a high purge flow, that's how you're going to go ahead and test the Evap Perch solenoid. If your car is overheating, then the main thing you want to check is the coolant level. Physically look around the car, see if you see any possible leakage or signs of it was leaking from either a hose, water pump, radiator, any kind of fittings around the cooling system. I did that when I was looking for the auxiliary pump. I'm not sure if I'm even going to keep that part in this video, but I was looking for an auxiliary pump because, you know, just double checking everything. And I see no leaks, no trail of leaking, no puddles, no contamination, anything like that around any of the hoses. So we can exclude a external leak. Internal leaking, performed the block test. The block test was fine. Visually pulled off the one that had the misfire. Took a look in there, didn't see no moisture, didn't see anything on the plug that eluded a burning of coolant, and the piston crown had its normal carbon deposits on it. Those are some of the things that you're going to want to look for overheating, aside from, you know, checking to make sure the fans work, make sure the thermostat opens, and on some cars that have the active grille shutters, make sure they're open. They're going to close at certain times, but for the most part when you're driving, they should be open. That allows the air to pass the radiator fans, or the radiator fins, I'm sorry. So those are a few things you can check if your car is overheating. But as far as getting back to what I did on this car, as far as the evap problem, that purge solenoid can also cause a small evap leak as well. So if you're having a code for evap system small leak detected, aside from checking the gas cap, I would also check the purge solenoid the same way. Disconnect the line going into it and blow through it. If you have any sort of airflow that goes through it, then that purge valve is sticking open, and it's going to cause an evap leak. It can cause a lean condition, and it can also cause a misfire. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something. Until I see you guys have a good one.